I am so smart in Spanish. I am very smart. What I thought about that I was gonna say, I swear it sounded smarter than what it came out. I love understanding what users want, how they behave. I want to make sure that every optimization effort is actually geared towards giving them a smooth experience. That way, you're not just boosting conversion rates, right? Like you're not just tricking them. You're actually doing things that are better for them in the end, right? I found that, especially in corporations, you have so many people that are like, I'm the owner of this. Like I know better, right? And they do. And it's up to us in product to understand that every person and every team member has their own expertise, and that's what they bring to the table, right? So you can't push what you feel needs to happen. You have to make it collaborative enough for them to want to help you get that done. I have an I Am app. It's a positive affirmations app, and I open it every day. Once I stand up from bed, I do my stretches, I do my meditation, I open that app and I post it to the world. I post whatever affirmation calls my attention, and I post it to my group of friends so that they can also read it and at least see it. If they see that positive thought early in the morning, I feel your day changes. So that's my favorite app from any other app, believe it or not. There are a lot of companies out there that just look at numbers. They're like, but look at this segment and look at this percentage of like da. But that's not the whole story. That just tells you half of it. You have to look at what they're doing while they delivering this numbers. So I always say that's my motto is basically fail fast and learn fast. It's basically iterate quickly based on what works and also what doesn't, because you get the most learnings out of the things that don't work rather than from the things that work, right? Because if you see a win, you're just gonna stop there. You're like, it's a win. But if you see a loss, like a loser, you're going to stop there and be like, okay, what happened? What drove that loss, right? Sometimes people from a leadership position to demand things without having enough background on it just because. Those are the things that I think should be trained a little bit more in companies that are starting up, at least.
Welcome to another episode of the Women in CRO series by VWO Podcast. This series is an ode to the contribution of women in the CRO industry. Before we speak to our special guest for this episode, here's a quick summary of who we are and what we do. VWO is a leading experience optimization platform that helps fast-growing brands optimize their digital experiences. Using our latest product, VWO Insights, you can understand user journeys and identify conversion roadblocks on your website and mobile app. So, without any further delay, let's jump right into the conversation.
I'm so thrilled today to introduce you to Jacqueline Polanco. She is the Director of Product Conversion Optimization at Here.com. She is a seasoned digital product leader with over 18 years of experience thriving in innovation and ensuring that she exceeds market's demands. From her journey from being a digital marketing strategist to being an expert at product management, Jacqueline's passion for optimizing customers' experiences and user engagement and their interactions speaks volume. And her commitment to continuous learning and her track record, which we'll be talking about in some time, and also her innovative features. This makes her the most fascinating guest I've had so far. So jump right in as we converse about conversion rate optimization. So, hey, Jacqueline, welcome to welcome to a Women in CRO podcast. How are you feeling today?
Oh my goodness, I am feeling great. It's Friday, so yay. I don't know when the listeners are going to be listening to this podcast, but at least for me, it's like, yes, I made it to the end of the week. So exciting. Super excited to be here. I actually feel pretty good about the bio that you just did. Like you're talking better about myself than I could ever talk about myself.
Yes, scoring points with you. So how did you feel? I think it's the first time for the both of us as well. So how did you feel being invited for special series podcast?
This is this is awesome. I feel that I've been wanting to reach out a little bit more than what I've done in the past. I feel I've had a little bit of I don't know, maybe being feeling a little afraid of speaking out, or just broadening out my how do you say this, like my reach, basically. I'm first generation, or I'm an immigrant basically from the Dominican Republic, so English is not my first language, and it's very hard to put myself out there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I'm always thinking about how people will perceive, or like the accent and things like that. And then I hear so many podcasters or people reading or presenting that have so many strong accents, that I'm like, I feel, I sometimes I have to kind of like calm myself down and feel better about it than what I currently do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, completely. I mean, I myself, I'm an army kid. So initially, my mom had to move around a lot. After that, we moved out of India, and my entire life was in the Middle East. And then after my school, that's when I moved back to India to get engineering degree, and then that's how it moved forward in life. And I just fell in love with India, and I never left. But
Awesome.
I completely understand your struggle. I mean, it's from different mindsets and knowing one language and how English is used as a primary and a secondary language in many countries, and how we think in a different language, and the perspective matters a lot.
Yes.
And
I am so smart in Spanish. Like, would you come, like, you hear coming out of my mouth in English sometimes, I'm
oh
sorry, I
my
have to
God.
apologize. I am very smart. What I thought about that I was gonna say, I swear it sounded smarter than what it came out, like, I have to
Oh,
apologize to my team members all the time, and I joke around that way, because I do feel that we don't give enough credit to ourselves, because we're thinking what we want to say, but then it comes out
oh,
like in different ways. And English is not an easy language. It's very much about context, and where you put this, and why do you say this first, and then how. And so it's very complex to think to speak English. So I actually don't give myself prop enough. So props to you, Joe, as well. It is a hard thing to do.
I agree. Yes, especially with your experience. I mean, you have to work with a varied set of customers across the globe, and I can only imagine the amount of research that goes behind those audiences that you do to come up with such innovation. So, maybe if you could dive right into any interesting experiences or anything that maybe you'd like to share recently with respect to your experience in CRO that might, encourage our women listeners.
Yeah, what really got me hooked on conversion rate optimization was this cool mix of creativity, and then at the same time you're crunching numbers. It's
Yeah.
all about using data to tweak websites to make them super effective at getting people to click, buy, sign up, depending on where, what industry you're in. So for me, it was like a puzzle, blending psychology, strategy, analytics, and it's always changing. So that's a plus for me, because my type of person, I need to have some
Oh my
change in my
God.
life all the time.
That is so crazy. I mean, when I think about CRO as well, and when I go back in the day, I used to worry about as a child, like, what am I going to be when I grow up? The only two skills that I have is art and being creative and math, and there aren't any jobs out there. And and our parents in India, it's either you be a doctor or you be an engineer, and I wasn't going to be either. So I'm so glad that you shared that. I'm sure that it must have inspired a lot of people out there, irrespective of gender, to explore any sort of interest that they have, and curve, curve their or make their path that way, and then find and explore their own journey.
Yes, yes, exactly.
So, from our conversation already, I understand that you have an immense passion for UX. So, how do you ensure that all of our CRO initiatives are aligned, building products that customers actually love or become addicted to?
When it comes to making sure that Crow initiatives hit the mark with customers, my passion for UX is definitely key. And I think that comes from my marketing background, right? I love understanding what users want, how they behave. I want to make sure that every optimization effort is actually geared towards giving them a smooth experience. That way you're not just boosting conversion rates, right? Like you're not just tricking them, you're actually doing things that are better for them in the end, right? Like you're optimizing the website, you're creating seamless experiences that way. And I think that, it's all about blending data driven insights with actually qualitative stuff from UX that you learn how to like come up with new hypotheses and new things to test. Yeah.
That's a very nice point. And that will also give you insights on what your users are trying to tell you versus what the data is telling you. And that will paint an entire picture.
Yes.
So I really love that thought process. And so, given your work, especially in media strategy, and we all know that celebrity cruises is one of your yay and most spoken successes out there. So we would love to learn about how did you arrive at creating this innovative approach and launching the first Facebook Messenger chatbot in the cruise industry.
Yeah. So bringing the first ever chatbot to the cruise industry was actually about connecting with our guests in a whole new way. It was the beginning into omni-channel communications as we know it now. At that time, that was back in 2016, something like that.
Oh.
So there was not that omni-channel communication jargon that you hear nowadays, right? Like it
Mhm.
was just trying to find where the customer was at that time and then not pushing them where we wanted them to be. So that was my motto at that time, right? Like I
Mhm.
was tired of trying to push things to them via marketing channels that we were like, oh yeah, this is where they're going to purchase, this is where they're going to buy. But what about when we think about where the customer is at, that they want to reach out to us and we're not there? Then you're making them go through this funnel or like just trying to get them to call you when I don't want to talk to you on the phone. Like, how do you bridge that gap? And I think
Mm.
that's what we did with the chatbot, where we took a deep dive into how they like to communicate, and then Facebook Messenger was where it was at the time. It was like the place to be because where everybody was chatting around. And we rolled out the chatbot and we made cruise planning at that time, and the support of booking a cruise super easy and convenient. It was dynamically connected, so we would get live inventory, um,
Mm.
live prices through
Mm.
the Facebook chatbot.
Crazy.
Yeah, and then people can pick like, oh, do you know where do you want to go, or do you just want to be aspirational, right? So we gave them
Mm.
that option of playing around with dates, with ports, with experiences that they wanted to do at that time, and it was all dynamic and automatically generated. And then at the same time, we had a digital customer service team that was monitoring this chatbot, so that whenever there was a person that was like, help me, or I'm stuck, they can jump into the experience and actually help them live.
So essentially, what you've done is using the current data that we have and understanding what visitors are trying to tell us, instead of forcing them to do something, you try to remove some sort of friction or some sort of anxiety that they might have while they're enjoying this experience, keeping in mind that they've spent a lot. And they want to enjoy the experience. And as long as you give them that, they're going to reciprocate that back. But
And I don't know if
you
you've have you booked cruises before?
Oh
Have you?
my. So I've looked at it and I'm so shocked. So my husband and I were looking at it and we were looking at the amount of services and the time period, the wait list. Oh,
Mm.
Jesus. And the sort of FOMO that builds in you. Oh my gosh. And I don't think I'm going to look at those sites in the next 2 years. I already have enough stress in my life. I really don't need more stress. So to
Seriously.
answer So yeah, I mean, that's amazing. I mean, you immediately looked at data and understood that visitors are having an anxiety. And if you already have so many ifs and buts and so many of things of that sorts, it's easier to coordinate and ensure that you remove some sort of friction. And from your story, it's amazing how you coordinated with different teams. I mean, that's working with, I don't know, 15, 16 teams. I don't know, how did you do that? I
It's
mean,
hard.
what would you advise our listeners are the key factors to ensure that you instill a habit or foster an environment of collaboration among cross-functional teams in CRO?
Getting teams working together like a well-oiled machine is about a few things. So first off, clear communication is key, is absolutely key. Like everybody needs to be on the same page. You need to be sharing the same goals, respecting each other's expertise. I found that especially in corporations, you have so many people that are like, I'm the owner of this. Like I know better, right? And they do. And it's up to us in product to understand that every person and every team member has their own expertise, and that's what they bring to the table, right? So you can't push what you feel needs to happen. You have to make it collaborative enough for them to want to help you get that done, right? So from my perspective, I did that. I was always there. I was always asking them what they thought about my idea, what they thought about the project, what was the bottleneck, what was the holdup, who did they need me to go to talk to so that we can get that unblocked, things like that, instead of relying on them to do all that hard work, because that's what most people don't want to do, right? They don't want to like get out of their comfort zone and go and ask a director of so and so, like, hey, do you know how this works, right? Like they want to feel like they know, and that's why I was very good at doing that. Another thing that I think I do very good, in Crow in particular, is it's actually celebrating wins and and losses together. That keeps the morale high. The collaboration vibes are strong that way. So having constant retros, I know that this sounds like cliche, right? Like, oh, having I do it with the whole company. My retros for my team, this fermentation team, we do the retros with the whole marketing team. Like basically, and the whole
Wow.
is invited at any point in time. They can join our retros. And what we go over in our retros is not just, oh, what went well, what went wrong, but no, we also publish every insights that we learned from every experiment that we tested during that sprint. So I think that's been very helpful to get everybody on the same page, and they understand what's a win and what's a lose. Like, yeah, it's is fostering that. And also, having a culture where data it's king. I mean, that means that everybody is giving you insights and ideas, and they're valued because they come with the data background, right? Like they come, like they just don't tell me, oh, this is a very nice widget that we can put in our website, right? Like it's based on, oh, I spoke to 3 customers, and these customers said there was like, they didn't understand this particular section of the website. Do you think that with their feedback we can implement this and that? And those are the things that I look for whenever I'm getting hypotheses and ideas from everybody in the company.
That's actually a very good tip. And I think this is a culture that we've already gone through when we were kids. I mean, in our chemistry labs, we've always had experiments that our teachers put us in groups, and we either had a win or we had a loss, or the reactions never, or the liquids or the chemicals never mixed, and it was always inconclusive. So but everything had a learning, everything had a teaching, and all that was possible only because we all coordinated and everybody had visibility into it. So that's a beautiful way of explaining how can we inculcate that sort of culture eventually within. And I'm assuming that's going to be a lot of work initially, but the fruit that we'll bear at the end is going to be tremendous, because you're allowing multiple minds to glow at that point in time. And when they collaborate, you can always create wonders.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So, would you have any other examples that you'd be willing to share on how analyzing test results and website data led to valuable insights, especially in this journey of optimization?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, at the current company I'm at here.com, we actually launch a lead generation campaign on our website. So basically, our
Hmm.
website, that's what we do. We gather leads. And what we didn't know is that there was this segment of people, and we gather the leads and then we call them and then we get them on the phone, right?
Hmm.
Know is that there was this segment or this group of people that did not want to talk on the phone, and I feel like I was part of it. Like, I'm part of that segment of people that, what if I don't want to talk? And not only that, I don't want to talk because maybe I just don't want to talk to customer service, but what if I'm searching for my remember that my audience is people with hearing loss. These are adults,
Hmm.
very old mostly, with hearing loss. So expecting a call might sound like, might be too much for them, right? Think, right? So then I'm like, okay, what about that segment of people that they do still need the hearing aids, but they feel very like, just like me, that I was getting this, I was afraid of speaking out or in reaching out, in a podcast or whatever, because I have this accent, right? Imagine people that can't hear very well. They might not want to be talking on the phone as well. So we researched this audience segment, and it turns out they were just a big segment. They just didn't want to get on the phone. And armed with this insight, I actually worked closely with sales, marketing, the tech people, like on my company. I was like everywhere, the dialers, everybody in the dialer side. We were like, okay, how are we going to target this amount of people? We decided to create a survey, a continuation of our lead generation questionnaire, basically, where people who did not want to speak on the phone, they could give us that answer. They could be like, no, I do not, I prefer not to speak on the phone. And then they could continue on they could continue the online process. Uh,
Hmm.
instead of speaking to somebody. So what came out of that was, just a, a bunch of new questions, of course, to kind of like make up for the consultation that we would have over the phone. And we continuously fine tune things. We set up a testing schedule. We made sure that things were flowing. We were listening to calls. We were making sure that all the teams were, they knew what was going on. And that, we found the sweet spot, and that boosted conversion rates by 33%. So it was a very good win for us. That was another not too shabby first in the industry as well, because hearing aids, the hearing care industry is very, they've stayed a little bit in the other side, right? Like, you have to go in person, you have to, talk on the phone, and then go in person to a hearing consultant. And what I love about here.com is that they are trying to disrupt that industry and make it a lot, and make it come forward with the times. Basically, that's what we are doing there.
Congratulations, firstly, on the win, and on another industry breaker. I mean, come on. And I really love how you weave the story of all that you need to be is pay attention and attentive listening. And as you were describing the segment of the audience that could be potential buyers for us, it just occurred to me, oh, Jesus, it is here.com. I mean, it's highly likely that they do not want to speak because it's going to be strenuous. And that immediately sparked a recent success that Instagram had with their testing. So they have launched captions, closed captions now.
Yes.
And that is after understanding that a lot of deaf visitors go ahead and use Instagram as well, but they'd like to consume content. And another way to consume content is to show them a language that they can understand and comprehend. And that's a beautiful way to spark that language in our visitors or in our audiences today.
Yes, to give a little bit more to that story of Instagram, yeah, for sure. If you actually add it, there are numbers behind that. So if you are a influencer or a brand and you actually want to get a lot more into the algorithm and get pushed up and
Mhm.
get shown more, if you put captions in your videos, they prioritize you a lot more than people that don't put captions in their videos. That's why you're seeing a very much an increase of influencers putting like every word that they're saying on the video is because of that same reason, because their Instagram is making it better for any person, no matter what disability or what what accessibility, like what issues they have, making it more accessible, basically. So that's a very good move from Instagram and Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah. And by now, our audiences might have already guessed that Jackie is a wizard when it comes to marketing strategies. So, reflecting on your journey over the years, what is some of the key learnings or experiences that may have shaped your approach towards CRO and digital marketing, keeping in mind your expertise in both fields?
Yeah, I mean, first off, understanding users inside and out is absolutely
Mhm.
essential. I've learned the hard way that when you assume things, they lead you astray, and then there's so much that you do that you can't go back, right?
Oh, I agree. Oh, Jesus.
So relying on data and also user insights at the same time is key. Like I
Mhm.
not look, there are a lot of companies there out there that just look at numbers. They're like, oh, but yeah, but look at this segment and look at this percentage of like da da da. But that's not the whole story. That just tells you half of it. You have to look at what they're doing while they delivering this numbers. So I found that that's the sweet spot. So always look at not only data but also look at qualitative data at the same time and put them together and try to put together so you can form a story about the customer. The other thing that I think has helped me a lot in my career is that test and learn mindset. So for me, failure is not something that I'm afraid of. I'm always looking for an opportunity to learn and grow. And that's like in my personal life, in my career, and my everywhere. Like I just use that as a stepping stone for the next best thing, right? So I always say that's my motto is basically fail fast and learn fast. It's basically iterate quickly based on what works and also what doesn't, because you get the
Yeah.
most learnings out of the things that don't work rather than from the things that work, right? Because if you see a win, you're just gonna stop there. You're like, it's a win. But if you see a lot like a loser, you're going to stop there and be like, okay, what happened? What drove that loss, right? So for me, that's one of the main things. And of course, of collaboration, it's key as well. So if you don't get everybody from everywhere in your company working together, setting common goals, and then
Hmm.
always focusing on the user experience, then those are the things that drive results. That's basically what those are the lessons that have been my guiding principles, I guess, during my career.
Yeah, and I think that's the holy grail as well. I mean, you've described the entire process of how an essential CRO um, strategy should be played out, and this is just the bone. You can always put meat, and you can always put blood and create your own creature out of this. But this is a very basic. You first listen to your users, you research about them, you try to weave a story about what the data also tells you, and try to collaborate initiatives as well. And I'm really a huge fan of your motto as well. And that's what the industry says, right? I mean, about 10 to 20% of the tests are only winners. The remainder are inconclusive or losers. And what do you get from them? They're gold mines. They give you lessons, right? And they help you create an iterative roadmap and dig deeper into your different audience segments. And that's how you create user personas as well.
Yep.
So looking ahead, of what we have in store, what do you think are the trends in the advancements of conversion rate optimizations and in digital marketing?
This sounds probably buzzword, but of course, continuing to integrate AI and machine learning into conversion rate optimization and digital marketing as well. I remember one of my first projects at Celebrity Cruises was trying to get my media buys just like automated instead of having that human,
Yeah, I feel you.
like helping. We were trying to hire an AI company, which at that time was just a machine learning company, but they sold it as AI and try to optimize and automate the media buying process. At that time, it didn't work out, but I think we are in a good spot right now with it, of course, and buzzword again. But yeah, that definitely these technologies have the potential to just personalize user experiences, predict user behavior, automate testing processes. However, the only things that I am always afraid of with these technologies coming out, of course, are everything around privacy that we've heard, and we know that it's out there, data privacy issues. We see it time and time again that this is not going to stop. So that's the only thing that I'm afraid of with that. But I think that implementing, AI and machine learning also requires a high level of expertise. So I think in the market, there's a skill gap, right? That people are trying to get up to. But AI is moving so fast. Probably, the things that you learned like 3 months ago are not ever gonna be obsolete by the time that you finish the certification or the course that you want to take. So yeah, besides that, I think also just CRO is all about CRO and UX is all about human touch and customer interactions, right? So I am always afraid of also that with AI, because then you lose that touch of trying to dig into what customers like, and just having a machine do it for you. I don't think that's going to be enough. But if we can find that sweet spot between those two things, where a person like me who is a CRO manager, I'm not only just hoping that the AI does it right, like I'm also digging deeper into what I can find, and that way I don't lose sight of good UX and good conversion rate application towards the customer, geared towards the customer, basically.
Yeah, and these are very good insights on how to even look at generative AI at a different perspective, right? I mean, instead of thinking of it as a challenger, use it as something that can spark your innovation, and use it as a guide, because human intelligence is something that you will always require.
Yes.
So, having said that, maybe any sort of encouragement words for our listeners out there who are trying to make it in the space of conversion rate optimization?
I say just read about it, take some certifications. I mean, it's not only what you can learn, but it's also putting it into practice on your daily life. Try to okay, if I do this, what is the outcome of that? If you do those things, you can start thinking like a CRO manager, like a product manager, and that gets you a lot more in the door than anything else. I think that when I'm hiring for positions in this space, I'm not looking for current skill sets that or experience, right? Like I'm not looking for experience. I'm looking for the skill set that I need for that. And that's only given to you by putting it into practice and trying to think critically, try to make sure that you're that you know the basics of statistics. But remember, that's not everything at the moment, because you have tools that can do that analysis for you. So those like VWO, for example, like they're there. So but you need the basics, and you need to have that mind of thinking what else is there, and not stop at just getting the numbers and just dealing with them, right? Like I think you have to have an inquisitive mind as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's very subtle way of saying that if you want to reach the guru level, then you need to create or feed your curious mindset and ensure that you inculcate that. I mean, come on, that's how we learned how to brush our teeth. So if
Mhm.
we don't learn and unlearn and practice, we'll never get there. So that's a beautiful message, and thank you for that.
Thank you.
So before we call it a day, we are moving to our most favorite section, which is the rapid fire round.
Oh,
So let's start with the first one. Don't worry about it. What are tell me three apps that you cannot live without?
I have an I am app, which is my positive affirmations. It's a positive affirmations app, and I open it every day. And
Oh my
I read
gosh.
affirmation. This is my once I stand up from bed, I do my stretches, I do my meditation, I open that app and I post it to the world. I post whatever affirmation calls my attention, and I post it to my group of friends so that they can also read it and at least see it. If they see that positive thought early in the morning, I feel your day changes. So that's my favorite app from any other app, believe it or not. The second app I use a lot, it would be, I mean, I have it's like a meditation sleep app, and
Hmm.
I hear it to go to sleep. So I can't like
Oh.
2 things that I have, that I have like the little nature meditation sounds in the background before I go to sleep. And to wake up, I have to have my positive affirmations. So those are my two most used apps. I can swear to God that there are. And then the other one, well, I love Amazon. I purchase a lot through Amazon. So I would say Amazon is my other app. Believe it or not.
Oh my God, these are crazy. Oh, like I'm sure our audiences must have already seen all of the gemstones and the happy energy that you put out there. So it's lovely to meet somebody else who believes in the power of meditation and putting happy thoughts and happy energy out there in the universe. So that's really cool. And you should visit India. You'll have so much fun.
I have it on my bucket list for sure. I promise.
I'm going to help you take a tour. Don't worry about it. So, let's say if a movie was made about your life, what do you think the title is going to be?
Oh, wow. That's an interesting question. I would say like it's funny that you asked that question, because I always had my best friends growing up telling me like, your life is like a movie. Like you have so much stuff. I moved, like I came as an immigrant from the Dominican Republic. I married a military person. It was like we
Oh
lived
my.
in the United States, yes, and we moved to Puerto Rico. We moved to Florida, and yeah, I would say the crazy life of Jacqueline.
Oh my gosh. That's definitely going to be a hit. I'm already going to watch it, I'm sure. So, what is that one thing in our CRO industry that you'd want to change?
So you know how that there's this saying of like there's a lot of animals in product, and like you like the name of the animals that are like always there giving their opinions, and actually telling, like the most, what were the animals? I can't remember right now, but there's some like, oh, the most, the highest level person is a hippo, and then they always come in and push you with their opinions instead of like what
Yeah,
the team.
I've seen this chart. Yeah.
Yes, I feel like if there's something that I would change in Crow, it would be training leadership to understand that it's not as simple as this is what I want, and that
Hmm.
could be there could be a good mix of things, right? Like it's not always like what the data says. It's not always like there. You should always go with your gut as well sometimes, right? Like it's not just black and white, but
Hmm.
having sometimes people from a leadership position to demand things without having enough background on it, just because those are the things that I think should be trained a little bit more in companies that are starting up, at least.
Now, tell us one random fact that you know.
So the moon, when it's full, it raises the ocean levels, and the moon, not knowing that we are 90% water, the moon affects us all, and people don't understand that sometimes. Like you tell them and they think this is like woo woo stuff, but it's not. It's actually the universe telling you that there are changes in your environment and you're moving through cycles. And humans, we act a lot like
Correct.
in cycles. And I
Yeah.
think if more people would understand that it's not just because people are moody or somebody just like, no, it's cyclical. This is going to happen every month. This is, everybody moves into that, and that
Oh,
is part of the moon cycle. And I think that's a little funny fact that, I mean, it's not even a fact, I guess it's science, but
that's true. I
uh,
mean, it's science. I mean, I think one of the, I don't know if it's HBR or one of these science journals, they recently published that it's related to these cycles that we have with our menstruation. So it's actually a legit study and there is science behind it. So that's really cool. And what would you say is your guilty pleasure TV show or movie, maybe?
Hmm. So you want to know specifically about TV show or movie, or so
Anything.
yeah, I do have a guilty pleasure. So I really like watching series about vampires and witches. So I look for them. Like I've
Oh,
seen them
Jesus.
probably all right now at the moment. Like everything that has to do with vampires, witches, and something supernatural. I've seen it. I am pretty much about that. So
Oh, crazy. Have you seen Vampire Diaries?
yes, I have the whole
Oh
series
my
with
God.
the
Oh,
originals.
that is so cool. Oh, we'll have a whole new conversation just about that.
Yes, yes, that's
Oh,
awesome.
Jesus.
It's one of the best series, honestly. Like
Oh,
that.
yes. I agree. I agree. At least in this genre, I agree. It's at least better than Sabrina.
Yeah, well, I even like Sabrina. Like
I
I
know. Different
totally
scale.
identified with her. I was like, I am totally like Sabrina. I want to be her.
So let's say now that you've ventured into the world of podcasts, let's say that you've launched your podcast, who would you think you would like to invite as your first guest?
I think I would also, yeah, I would also like try to get somebody like a female person in the world product. I think there's so many inspiring female leaders out there that have made significant contributions, and they just keep getting serving as role model for other female, to be up there to push through society norms and keep pushing. And yeah, I think a story that I really loved hearing was the one from the CEO of Bumble. Her
Mm-hmm.
name I think is Whitney Wolf Heard, something like that. Word for Heard. She is basically, she was married to a guy that invented a dating app that I'm not gonna say the name. And then she created, like, he took all, like, she was the one, that the mastermind behind that dating app.
Mm-hmm.
When they got divorced, he took the whole business from her. So she went around and she created her own dating app, which is Bumble, and it's mostly geared towards female and creating a
Mhm.
safe space for female in like dating in the dating world. So I think that she would be a very interesting first person to have on my show for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's an interesting story. I didn't know that about the founder.
Yes, yes, interesting.
What would be three books that you would recommend our audiences to read?
So when I first started on this path, I read experiments, and I cannot remember
Mm,
the author, but I read
yeah.
that book, and I think that that opened my mind into a lot of why do I need to be doing experiments, right?
Mhm.
Um, I also read. I would recommend Atomic Habits, of course. Like it's one of those books that you have to read to create new habits and make sure that you're following through them.
But these are two fantastic books, yeah, and they're really insightful. I mean, I would recommend them to our listeners as well, especially experiments. Those the insights that I got, the way that I started looking at research completely changed after I read that book. So I'd recommend that as well.
Yes.
Um, apart from all the beautiful skills that you have right now, what is a superpower maybe that you would love to have?
Well, I think I have. I think I already have a superpower. I think
So
I
cool.
Yes, I always I even had it on my bio at one point in LinkedIn. It's like I feel like I push through walls, and I'm like I have that relentless motivation to push through walls. And this is like I don't know if I go and I become transparent and I just cross through the walls or I break them, but they are there. That is a superpower to be able to just like not get pushed down by others and not get stopped over things that you feel like you feel very passionate about doing. And I feel like that's something that i've I've always admire about myself, I guess, is that I don't get discouraged over what other people kind of like tell me that I can't do. Try to keep pushing
Mhm.
forward it. Yeah.
I mean, come on, we can compare industry trendsetter to breaking walls. Yes, you definitely are the Hulk of our industry. So, what is that one thing that you are tired of explaining to your boss or to a client? It can be about anything.
Oh my goodness. All right. So tired of explaining, letting the experiment get to statistical significance. Please, please do that. Can we please let an experiment reach statistical significance? Like that's one of the
Oh
things that
my.
I am so
Oh,
like, yeah, this is like one of the things that nobody understands. But why is it taking so long? And you're like, it needs to get the enough sample size to get there. Yeah, so
oh,
it's one of the things that I need to continue, and I'm continuously pushing forward towards because it's so
yeah.
hard to get them there on the same page. But it's working. Just make it live. It's working. It's not a winner yet. Like give it time.
Oh, I completely feel you. And yeah, and that's why knowing the basics is very important so that you can break it down and explain it to people. But oh Jesus, just explaining why statistical significance is important. Oh my gosh.
Why
I'm with you.
99 and not 80? What? Do you want that chance? Do you want it? I don't
Exactly. I don't want.
want it.
Tell us about this one goal or one dream that you'd love to achieve in the next 3 years.
Oh wow. Yeah, I feel like I want to have my own business. I am working towards that. Hopefully it becomes reality. That's something that I want is financial independence and be able to be, just move out of the 9 to 5 and do something more towards my family. And yeah, and my own values. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, those are lovely values to have, especially when we'd love to instill good energy within others as well. So the more we retrospect, that's helpful in building healthy environment. That's
Yes.
so nice
Yes.
and lovely to end on a good note. And I also have a bonus question.
Oh,
So, how was your experience?
It's interesting. I feel very at home. I don't know how. I thought it was going to be a little bit more awkward, but I
I
think
told you we'll have some fun.
made it very easy, Joe. I can't.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it's part host, part
oh
the
my.
person who's there. Yeah, definitely, you made my life a lot easier. I would have been
Oh,
pretty
my.
awkward if you didn't feel like home to me, basically.
Oh my, you're too kind. Oh, I'm sure we're definitely going to keep in touch right after this. But other than that, we would love to have you back. I'll definitely love to have you back as one of my guests. So until then, have a beautiful weekend. And thank you so much for your time and speak to you soon.